Hey guys, we are on video 4. Okay, video 4 talks about fixed and variable costs. So just to reflect just a little bit on what we talked about last time, we noticed the opportunity costs, how much we are sacrificing, so the opportunity cost for the government if they decide that they want to put their money towards weapons and unemployment benefits. The opportunity costs for that decision is they're sacrificing new roads and more hospital beds. All right, today we're talking about the measures of costs. So we need to know costs that go into producing our whatever it is that we're making for our business. So for today's example, we're going to be making bicycle helmets. So we want to know all the measures of cost that go into it. What are the tools that I need? What pieces of the bicycle helmet, the shell, the foam, the straps, the buckles, all the different parts, everything is going to be calculated, and we're going to break them into 2 different groups today. So we need to know how many that we're going to produce. We need to consider the different costs that are involved. I need to know how many bicycle helmets I'm going to make. So am I going to make 10 billion bicycle helmets? No, there's only 6 billion people in the world, and I'm not trying to, in my startup company, make enough bicycle helmets even for everyone in the world. So I'm going to think about this in smaller numbers, and I'm going to work up using a calculator to figure out what is the best number to produce and how it's going to help me out. So I have to figure out, like I said, how many is too many and how many is too few. Determining cost will help us achieve this. So all businesses have costs, but not all costs are the same. We have fixed costs. Fixed costs or expenses are the same no matter how many units of a good are produced. So in this case, we're talking about bicycle helmets. Something that's going to be a fixed cost is going to be the rent for the factory, the capital for the machine or the tool that cuts the foam for the helmet, the salary for the manager. Has to be salary, can't be wage. If it's wage, it's going to change. But if it's salary, then it can go into fixed cost. If I have a utility bill, that generally doesn't change with, as long as the machine is running, it doesn't matter how many helmets I'm making or something like that. As long as it doesn't change with how many units I'm making, then, if the lights are on, doesn't matter how many helmets I make inside, the lights don't care. The lights it costs the same amount to have the lights on, regardless of how many helmets I make. That's a fixed cost. All of those fall under fixed costs. Rent, property taxes, all of these are fixed. It's no different if we make 1 bicycle helmet or 1,000, all the fixed costs are going to stay the same. The landlord will not charge us more or less based on what we make. We can make 0 helmets or we could make 1,000,000 helmets. My rent is still going to be the same for the landlord. The variable costs do change. These costs or expenses change with the number of products that we produce. So wages and raw materials are examples of variable costs. These expenses are going to increase as production grows, and they're going to decrease as production drops. For example, to make more helmets, you need more workers and you need more supplies. Therefore, that's going to cost us more money. So I need more shells for the more helmets that I'm going to make. So as my production goes up, then the cost that I have to put in, the number of shells that I have to buy, or foam or buckles or straps, all of that, that's all going to increase. You guys know variable, like in algebra, is the x. That's the change number. The costs that go in are always our factors of production. And when we add our fixed costs and our variable costs together, we get our total costs. All right, so I'm going to jump over to an Excel document here that I have set up. Okay, so the fixed cost that we have, we're going to say, is $1,000. Let's say it costs $1,000 for, let me explain what I have here. Sorry. So we have our workers required, helmets produced per month. Here's our fixed cost, variable costs, the total, which is fixed and variable added together, and then it's already calculated out to tell me what we have here. All right, so fixed costs are going to stay the same regardless of how many helmets I'm going to make. So that's going to be the rent. That covers turning the lights on, and that's our rent, all of our costs, our fixed costs that aren't going to change per month. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to carry this down. And so now that has expanded over, and now I see a little bit of a calculation. Okay, my average total costs go down with the more I make, obviously, because I'm going to make more, I'm going to make more profit, and then that's going to give me, it's going to be determined less. All right, so now my variable cost. Let's say that for 2 workers to make 50 helmets in a month, it's going to cost me $200. No, let's say $500. Okay, and now my total cost is $30. But if I want, my target is to sell the helmet for $25. If that's my target, then right now selling 50 helmets, or producing and selling 50 helmets in a month, my variable costs, my fixed costs, my total cost is $30, the average. So that means per helmet. So that means I'm losing $5 on every helmet. So I'm not there yet. I need to increase how many I'm going to make and see if I can start to get that number lower. So now, because it's $500 for every 2 workers, I'm going to increase this number to $1,000. Because now I have 4 workers. Now my variable cost is $1,000, and this is for all the materials. I'm making more helmets. It's 50 more helmets, so now I need more straps. I'm buying them in bulk. That's more helmets, and 2 more workers, or all the parts for the helmets. So now I add that in. Oh, good, I got it down to 20. So just by adding another 50 helmets per month, I was able to turn what was a loss in my business per month, where I was losing $5 a helmet. Now I'm making $5 a helmet, because if I want to sell them for $25, I now just got my costs down. So now I have a target already. I say I want to sell them for $25. I'm already in the profit margin. I can make $5 per helmet. But I want to see if I can make it even better. So I'm going to add 2 more workers. I'm going to try to make 50 more helmets per month, and we're going to increase this to $1,500. Variable cost. Again, I'm only going up in $500 increments because I'm only adding 2 more workers. And now I see that I can get my average down to $1,667. That's great. I'm going to do it again. Now I'm up to $2,000. I'm down to $15. This is awesome. Now I'm getting a $10 margin, or a $10 profit on each helmet that I make. When I move to the 250 range, I'm going to add 2 more workers and a manager. And so I realized that I've decided that for every 10 workers, I need a manager to oversee them. So I would add the $2,500. That's for the regular workers, but I'm going to bring $200 more for that manager. So now I got it down to $1,480. That's awesome. Now I'm just going to extend this, adding $500 every time. I'm doing math on the fly here. And I still haven't gone beyond my 10 yet. I got one more space. So I'm up to 4,700. And now I see that I'm at 1267. And I'm going to add one more manager because I'm going over 20. So 4,700 plus my 500 should put me at 5,200, 5,200. But again, I'm going to add the extra 200 because I have another manager coming in for every 10 workers. And now I see that because of that change, I hit a point at which it went back up a little bit. I was decreasing. The costs were going down, and here it went back up just a little bit because I had to add that extra percentage. Even though it was 50, I was making 50 more helmets. So I would have to evaluate, is it worth it to have that manager for this cost? Okay, if that variable cost was worth it for my average here. But either way, I started making a profit here just by adding 50 more. That hit the $10 profit here per helmet. And so you guys can see how much what your profit margin can be on each helmet. So it's an advantageous tool to have there. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. And you can see this displayed here, fixed and variable costs. And so we have FC, fixed cost, is here on the horizontal line, the red line on the bottom. For this particular graph, the fixed cost is $200, and we're seeing the variable cost goes up. Now, as it goes up, it's going to eventually hit a point at which it's just going to cost you more. You're not going to create any more profit, kind of like we saw. Okay, the last bit that I need to point out to you guys, and it's very important, is the marginal cost. It's a very important concept that still remains as far as our costs. The marginal cost is the extra cost of producing one single additional unit of output, so for helmets. So if we remember, our total cost to produce 50 helmets was $1,500. That was the total cost, variable and fixed put together. Well, the marginal cost would be, what would it cost us to just make that one extra unit if we wanted to make 51 units? Well, you have to imagine you can't divide that number up. You can't divide the 500 by 50 and then, add it together. Maybe I buy all my helmet parts in bulk. I still have to have more workers because there might not be enough space once I increase that production. That's the number that I've allocated. I can't squeeze my workers. I have to move up to the next bracket, even if it's just one additional unit. So my marginal cost is to decide, is it worth it to add $500 more? It's going to cost me $500 to make one more unit. So my marginal cost is $500 for just to make that one extra unit. So what factor might help us decide whether to increase production at that cost? I don't know what I need to put in to make that helmet worth $500, but there might be a point at which in my company I would need to do that. We're going to talk more about marginal costs coming up in the future, but just something to think about there is what that means for that single next unit is the marginal cost. Don't forget to take notes on the video and have them ready for me to check in class.